This is an executive briefing by the Regional Emergency Coordination Office for the state of Vermont. This message is for the Governor's Office, the Vermont National Guard, Red Cross, regional and local volunteer groups, Vermont Department of Public Safety, Burlington Mayor's Office, and all subsequent departments fall under the Mayor's Office, Franklin County, Orleans County, Essex, Grand Isle, Lamoille, Chittenden, Washington, and Caledonia County. The subject of this is a winter storm mitigation plan. This is an update to the previous one. The winter storm that has been predicted for some time has worsened. The National Weather Service reports that extreme winter conditions warnings have been posted, and they will continue to monitor the situation closely. The forecasted snowstorm alert has changed, and the state of Vermont is receiving a critical amount of freezing rain instead of snow. The National Weather Service is predicting the freezing rain will last for 2 to 3 more days, adding several inches of ice. At this time, 6 to 7 inches of ice accumulation has already been reported in counties located in northern Vermont, including the region of Burlington. According to the National Weather Service, this is the worst winter storm on record in the history of Vermont. In order to deal with the increased emergency that this storm has brought, the governor is looking into tasking state and municipal authorities to ensure that essential public employees work under the emergency 12-hour work schedule. The governor is aware and sympathetic that the increased workload has been difficult, especially with the current levels of staffing due to the winter holiday period. With that in mind, the governor is currently reviewing all options to include assistance from the federal government. In addition to the steps taken as stated above, I have created an Emergency Operations Center, or an EOC, to ensure proper coordination and communication is occurring, not only for those agencies directly responding to the crisis, but also to ensure that the citizens are getting fully informed on the full scope of our efforts and a central hub to voice any concerns or issues. The Regional Emergency Coordination Office will head the EOC and continue to give you regular updates to include government response and efforts, contact information for your local aid organizations, and additional weather-related issues. In the meantime, do not hesitate to call or email the EOC at contact points listed at the end of this message, found at the top of this release, for any questions or concerns. With a heavy layer of ice covering a majority of Vermont, additional falling injuries have been reported. I urge all citizens who can stay indoors during this time to do so. Area hospitals will be on alert for an increased injury count, and we request we attempt to keep the numbers down as much as possible through proper safety measures. Additionally, I'm sure many of you have loved ones who are elderly or disabled. We are aware of the potential risk the storm brings, and we encourage all of you to conduct telephonic checks with their loved ones. If any are unreachable, I urge you to stay in your homes and contact the authorities who will conduct a health and welfare check on your behalf. As the EOC works to address this storm and its many issues as a result, we are recommending the following mitigation strategies be in place for all state, regional, and local agencies as applicable. Community safety. As stated in the previous mitigation plan, safety to our community is paramount. As the EOC coordinates with the first responders, as well as the National Guard, Red Cross, and volunteer groups, please do your best to remain indoors and warm during this time. Schools. All schools will be closed until further notice. The EOC, along with the Governor's Office and local leadership, will assess the situation prior to opening of any educational institutions. Transportation. All public transportation has been shut down until further notice and will not renew scheduled routes until a full analysis has been completed to ensure safety. Communication. Given the heavy ice already upon us, as well as the threat of more to follow, there is a chance that communications could drop to include landline and cell phone reception. Emergency responders and all essential personnel should have access to handheld radios and ensure all radios are fully charged as the storm continues. Local phone companies will be alerted to the threat and encouraged to have a full staff of technicians on standby to address any loss of communication. Energy. The power company is aware of the risk of power and heat loss due to the heavy ice buildup and is prepared to address any incidents as they arise. For resource availability, as stated previously, the National Guard. I've advised the Governor to deploy the Vermont National Guard to provide additional assistance to not only our first responders, but also to establish communication centers and temporary shelters for those citizens who require it. The National Guard, when deployed, will become part of the EOC and jointly coordinate with all other participating agencies. The Red Cross. The Red Cross stands ready to supply key items in support of those at risk during a storm, to include blankets, clothing, as well as toiletries and hygiene essentials for those individuals that have been displaced. Volunteer groups. I ask that all volunteer groups that have not already, please coordinate with my office or the EOC so we can determine how best to utilize your assistance in this time of need. Please keep in mind that while it is appreciated, please do not put yourself at risk to reach out to support centers. Becoming stranded yourselves only exacerbates the situation and adds additional workload to our already heavily burdened first responders. Contact. As the storm bears down, communication between agencies are key. The EOC will ensure that communication is ongoing between the first responders, aid groups, National Guard, local and state government leadership. Please address any concerns and questions to our office. I will be contacting you again with more updates as we learn them. Thank you very much.